going to gavel in. First of all, you all are amazing. We were in closed session, but the audience got a chance to hear you. We're going to gavel into the meeting, and then I believe you'll be playing at that time as well. Thank you again for being here. We'll give them just a minute to gavel in and call the meeting in order and do the Pledge of Allegiance, which I'm going to ask you all to do, because then that way the 13,000 people watching you on that camera can hear you get the Pledge of Allegiance. All right.
All right, it is 6:01. We are back from an executive session. Item 3 on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, we have some wonderful guests here this evening to give a Pledge of Allegiance. So I'll turn it over to our guests and then they'll share who is here with us this evening and why. Well, I'll give you the start.
Thank you. I'm Kiana Jackson. I'm the orchestra teacher at Topeka West, and this is the Topeka West Premier Orchestra.
So Topeka West, I know some of you have very large instruments, but for those that can join us in the audience with Pledge of Allegiance, we'll turn it over to Topeka West to lead us. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Outstanding. Thank you. And for our board, as you get ready to gavel in, we know they are the highlights, so that'll give them a chance to share who they are and what year they're in class, unless there are other performances. And I believe Mr. Reynolds will be here to acknowledge them as well. So I'll turn it back over to our board president as she gavels us in.
All right, we have gavelled in. So unless you want to go to the adoption of the agenda, okay, we'll do item 4. So we're looking for an adoption of the agenda. Motion?
Yep.
Mr. Munoz?
Madam President, I move the board adopt the agenda as presented.
Thank you. A second? Dr. Bonebrake, thank you for the second. We're ready for a vote.
All votes are in and the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. That takes us to item 5, school highlights. Dr. Anderson.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to Chris Reynolds. We are so excited about this evening, the Music, Theater, and Visual Arts in our Schools Month, which is why we have several guests here. But I'll turn it over to Mr. Reynolds to share who they all are. And if there are any other pieces to be played, that'll be done at that time. And then at the very end, we'll get to our Senior of the Month. Mr. Reynolds.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson, a member of this board. March is a wonderful month for us. We get to celebrate visual arts, theater, and music all in the same month. So we brought with us tonight guests from Topeka West. Thank you, Ms. Jackson. We also have tonight some students from Topeka West and Topeka High Theater Program that would like to talk to you about some of the accomplishments that they've done, not just locally in the state of Kansas, but internationally with the Thespian organization. And I would like to point out that our art this evening to represent visual arts is the first annual district art show award winners. We've started this year that we are going to start our own TPS district art show, and tonight represents selected winners from each one of the teachers. Each visual art teacher gets to pick their own prize winner, the best in class, to represent their classroom. And so tonight our visual art is the first district show for visual arts. If I could have our representatives from the theater come up.
Hi, my name is Kivern Staley, and I'm a senior at Topeka West. I'm currently the vice president and advocacy chair of our Topeka West Thespian Troupe as well. And I also serve on the advocacy steering committee for Kansas Thespians, and I serve on the student state board. Last semester, we had 2 main stage shows, the Greek mythology Olympiaganza and Alice versus Wonderland, which I directed, stage managed, and designed. This semester, we have 4 full-length shows, one of which is directed by a senior, and we have one act we're taking to competition, which is also directed by me. Yesterday, we went to the Theater Education Advocacy Day at the Capitol. There was a total of 35 schools from across Kansas, and a total of 265 students. The goal was to advocate for theater education, as well as asking for support from our legislators for just continued support and more funding. We were also recognized on the House and the Senate floor. Topeka West had 4 people serving on the steering committee to plan this event, and we were the only school in this district to have people on it. My teacher is also the chair of the advocacy at Kansas Thespians. For the last 10 years in a row, Topeka West has been named a Gold Honor Troupe by Kansas Thespians. And last year at International Thespian Festival, we received 3 perfect scores, and one of which was me. And so that was just some of the accomplishments that we've had.
Hello. Hello, I am Jack Ludlam. I am a senior at Topeka High School. I am currently the president of our theater department and a student state board member for the state of Kansas. The Topeka High School theater department has been incredibly successful this past year. We put on a few notable shows, including Starmite's Light and The Wizard of Oz. Starmites in particular was special because we received a pathway grant for $10,000. Enabling us to further grow our diversity theater class and the curriculum we're building there that is helping build curriculum for classes like ours across the nation. We used this money to bring in guest artists primarily from diverse backgrounds in the local and extended community in order to help provide unique skills and perspectives for our students, both applicable to theater and their greater lives. And our most recent production of The Wizard of Oz was a resounding success with almost 1,000 people attending the show, not including the over 500 elementary schoolers that we put on a private matinee for, many of which came to support their friends. We had multiple elementary schoolers come in as part of the production as munchkins. This past January, we also attended Kansas Thespian Festival, where we attended professional level workshops and high school theater productions from across the state. 6 of our students who prepared competitive Thespian Excellence Award submissions scored high enough to qualify to bring their submissions to International Thespian Festival. I was one of them. And I would just like to round it off by saying that many individuals, me included, but also many successful individuals, famous people, not just actors, commend their success and attribute it partially to their theater education in school. It helps build cooperation, creativity, critical thinking, and above all else, empathy. And I love it and it's important to me. So I just want to say thank you for your support.
All right, at this time, as we proclaim that it is Music, Theater, and Visual Arts in our schools month, this is often the time where board members ask questions as well. But as we prepare to transition to that, did you cover all the pieces that you wanted with our group? All right, board members, we're going to turn it over to you to ask questions of any of our students that are here, and then we'll move into our next two highlights.
All right, who has questions for these amazing students? We'll start with Ms. Boley.
So how many of you were in the pit for the Wizard of Oz? Oh, different school, wasn't it? Oh, my goodness. That's right. You confused me with the music. So I was thinking, oh, that's really amazing because this year there were 10 Topeka High School students in the pit. And I believe at your last play at Topeka West, you had 7. So I remember just a few years back, there was maybe 1 in the pit and sometimes none. So I'm just so pleased that a lot of you are trying that. Any of you were in the pit for the last play? There's one. Because that's really, really, really hard to play and stay up with the acting part of it. So just really impressed. Thank you. And amazing. We got such high performers at the nationals. It just shows how strong our theater department is and the staff that puts their blood, sweat, and tears into it and gives so much of their time. I know the addendums probably don't cover it all. But we just appreciate you so much because of your love for it and also your students for your love for it. And I'm so happy that you have that theater family there for you every day when you come to school. Your orchestra, your strings, those families are so important when you go to school every day. So thank you all for the time and effort you put into it. And I enjoy it every year so much. Thank you.
Mr. Munoz?
Yeah. I wonder, you all made reference to the fact that, it's a team effort, right? I wonder if you might speak to who are those members who have sort of helped you be successful, both in school, and maybe you have some individuals in the audience that you might want to sort of highlight and reference that helped you all be successful.
Answer the question. I think we're going to theater person and a music person. In terms of the team effort, who helps you in terms of your success? Theater person and then a music person?
I know for us at Topeka High School, a very big part of our success, who is not here today, is our teacher, Miss Amanda Burr. She is the person who primarily helped us to receive our Pathway grant and also is working with the International Thespian Society with their curriculum building program. Everyone at Topeka has played a part. We had the biggest company, including cast and crew, I think, ever, at least while our directors have been here for Wizard of Oz, our past show. It was really big turnout. There was a whole lot of people. It was a little stressful to stage manage for me, but it was really good. It's really fun. I'm really glad to see it all growing so much.
In terms of music, I would like to thank my support to Ms. Jackson because she has kind of helped us grow in directions that we didn't think were possible. And she's also done so much work in the elementary and middle school levels too. And also my choir teacher, Mr. Huff, he's very supportive and he always pushes me to work harder and to, again, achieve things that I didn't think were possible at first.
Any other board members have questions? Dr. Schumacher?
I just want to say thank you. I feel like I say this every year, and I think it's true with strings. I know it's true with theater. And Miss Bowley talked about family. Not every kid loves to go to school and learn about science and do creative writing. Some kids have to find their family in different places, and sometimes that's strings, sometimes that's theater, and sometimes adults make these kids feel less than or out of place. And these are places that are safe for kids that feel less than or out of place. And as a board member, as a parent, as a community member, I think it's very important that we continue to support these places so that we can support kids. And these kids can go on and work in a factory, be a doctor, perform on a stage, do whatever. Thank you, guys.
And Madam President, since we have so many young people that are in the middle and standing, I know we do have our Senior of the Month and our Read Across America, but perhaps this is a time to take the photo with the visual arts and the performing arts, and so that they can pack up their instruments and prepare for this evening. I do want to mention one of our Distinguished Staff Award winners. I just noticed in the back of the room, when we think about visual arts in the photo, she's from Topeka High. We surprised her today as well. And do you want to share, and is part of this your work as well?
One of the photography teachers had a student that I had in one of my intro journalism classes. His photography of the two other students in the trucks made it on the wall, and so I noticed his name. I was like, "Oh, I had Fabian."
You want to share who you are and how long you've been in the district?
Yeah, my name's Abby McRoy. This is my second year here and my second year as a teacher, so I'm a baby teacher.
So our baby teacher who's supporting the visual arts won the Distinguished Staff Award winners for beginning teachers and was surprised today at Topeka High. We're so glad to have you here. All right. Madam President, we maybe take a brief break. Okay, so we're going to take a brief break. All of our arts folks, if we can come to the middle, and we'll figure out how to take a picture in this space. And the board members will come around you. You coming up since you're in the visual arts? Yeah. Come on, baby teacher. All right, look this way.
There we go. All right, 1, 2, 3. There we go.
My goodness, why you just go sit down? Oh, man. Weren't for you, we wouldn't be at the Capitol as our, now, award-winning, is there anybody else here related to the arts? Vic, you coming up since you're
Okay, Anna's. Perfect. This way. 1, 2, 3. Go.
All right, good stuff.
Not the photo. I know. Not the photo.
All right, as they get their stands and prepare to pack up, we're going to prepare to transition to our next highlight. Yes, go right on it. Got it. Senior of the Month, go ahead and start the video. Senior of the Month. Senior of the Month. This is a very special evening. In addition to our Senior of the Month, coming up for our Fine Arts piece, our Senior of the Month is being highlighted. It's special because the first senior and the last senior that a school picks, they only get a chance to pick 2 or 3 in the course of a year. So those 2 or 3 out of over 1,000 students, it's pretty remarkable to be selected for a school like Topeka High. So this video that she's about to see for the first time will debut this evening on social media. So we'll start the video, then we'll turn it over to Mr. Dick to introduce our Senior of the Month.
You have no power while I'm here. Be gone before somebody drops a house on you, too. Hello, I am Anna Gehring, and I'm a senior at Topeka High School. At Topeka High, I'm heavily involved in theater, madrigals, student government, morning report, NEHS, NHS, Mu Alpha Theta, and Link Crew.
She's got involved in lots of things over the time that she's been here. She's in a pretty challenging and rigorous curriculum. She'll be a co-valedictorian of her class this year and is really just a great overall kid.
There's a lot to appreciate about Anna. One of those things is how creative she is. Always wanting to come up with ideas, her ability to sing and act. She's quite a talented entertainer. She's also one of the most genuine kids that I've had the pleasure of teaching throughout the years here.
She always seemed to be like true to herself, but I think now she's becoming more confident in like who she is and what her goals in life are. Watching her grow in theater, I saw her love and passions blossom out of her.
I love theater because it's been a place where I can express myself. I feel like I found my place, and I also love performing for people. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Anna is herself and always is, and that's one thing I really appreciate about her. She takes risks. She's not worried about being embarrassed. I mean, the girl has no shame when it comes to comedic efforts as well as speaking her mind.
I plan to attend the University of Kansas to pursue a degree in political science and potentially a minor or double major in psychology. I want to make a change in the world, and I think that's a really good way to get involved.
She's just a great example to other students of a way to kind of live your life through high school to get the most out of what you're doing. You show up every day, you do the right thing, you get involved and help other students out, and success will find you.
Thank you, Anna. I'm so proud of you. You've been an incredible student to work with, and I'm so thankful and grateful for the time that I've had to be your teacher. I'm really excited to see where you go in life, and I really hope that you'll take those experiences with you.
Thank you for letting me be myself. I will never forget this place. It was such a big part of who I am, and I'm gonna be so proud that I went here for the rest of my life. Be exactly who you want to be, do the things you want to do, because in the end of the day, they made me exactly who I am to this day.
So like Dr. Anderson said, it can be challenging to pick one student out or 2 students out in the year of all of the opportunity or all the potential students that we have. And this semester, as the administrators, we're trying to figure out who this person's going to be for this semester. And every day we try to eat lunch together in between the 2 lunches for a minute so we can all touch base about our day and all the things that are going on and what we're involved in. And it just happened that I needed to talk to Anna about something one of those days. And she comes down there, and while we're talking about that, she turns to walk away, and we thought, that's the one. That's our Senior of the Month, that she's it. So she's fantastic. And I have the pleasure of saying I had her brother at Topeka West and graduated from there. And now I get to graduate Anna from Topeka High. So that's pretty exciting. She's fantastic. She's really is a great example to all the other students at Topeka High. We're really, really proud of Anna. And I know you'll have some questions for her. We have her certificate. So,
Congratulations for being the March Senior of the Month, and I know they have a gift for you.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, they're gonna have questions for you, so. And normally, Mr. Dick likes you to open the gift while you're
gotta show
here.
off.
Want to see what's in there?
Dr. Brumbrake won't like it, but we're really happy that you're going to KU, Rock Chalk. And so there's a little KU something in there for you.
You do the letter too?
Yeah.
I'm working. You're very special. Most of the students just look at the gift. Right?
Your beginning birthday gets it. Oh, nice. There's that's how people work on it. Oh, that's awesome. Cool.
Thank you.
We're gonna have a couple of questions for you.
All right. They're already raising their hands. Mr. Tatum.
Anna, congratulations. This is, I hope this feels like a big deal to you. You seem kind of embarrassed, but to see you in character on the stage, you don't seem to be embarrassed at all. So getting into character is probably what makes the biggest difference for you when you're in front of a bunch of people that you don't hardly know.
Yes.
Got a couple of questions for you. Number one, do you and your brother get into any fights about which school is better, Topeka High or Topeka West?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, we did when I was first starting to go to Topeka High. I remember him always being like, "Oh, why Topeka West is better," or whatever. And also, my dad also graduated from Topeka West, so sometimes he says something too. But I mean, I initially entered Topeka High because of the dual language program because I was part of it in middle school, and I kind of learned quickly that I didn't know enough Spanish to be extremely successful in that program, but I stuck it out at Topeka High because I loved it there, and I knew I wanted to go there basically since my start of middle school. So yeah.
Okay, good. My second question, it looks like you want to pursue political science and psychology. You're a young woman after my own heart. And at KU also, I went to graduate school at KU. So where does your thespian career, any acting or anything like that, where does that fall professionally for you in the future? Or is that something that's maybe kind of a hobby, or maybe you feel like you might outgrow it or something like? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, honestly, I've always felt a little like odd because I'm really not planning on going into any of that for an actual professional career, but it's what I chose to do because I mean, I love it. I love doing it. Don't want to stop doing it. I'll probably do it as a hobby for the rest of my life at least. And I hope to join choirs wherever I can, join shows wherever I can, because it is a huge part of who I am. And I will definitely feel like something's missing if I don't find it somewhere. So yeah.
All right. Well, keep up the great work. We're extremely proud of you.
Thank you.
Dr. Schumacher?
And I just want to say thank you as a parent of a Schumacher that has been in shows with you these 4 years. Generally, there are people in the crowd supporting you here tonight, potentially, and we like if you introduce them to us so we can acknowledge their hard work as well.
Okay, I'm here with my mom and my dad. My mom, Deborah Gehring, and my dad, Thomas Gehring. Yeah.
Thank you, Anna.
Miss Boley?
So you've been with us for 12 years.
Yeah.
And so I would like you to answer 2 questions for me. First, what are the teachers that touched you the most through your career? And what are you going to remember most? How did Topeka Public Schools really put you in a place to feel successful?
Okay, so for the teachers that have touched me throughout the years, I will always remember my 4th grade teacher. Her name was Miss Ramos, and when I was in the dual language program, most of my teachers were from like Spain mainly, and so she was from Spain. And I remember she left actually like right after my year, she went back to Spain. But I mean, obviously it was 4th grade, so I can't explain every reason why she touched me, but I will never forget her. She was so amazing. And then in high school, I had my choir teacher for 2 years. His name was Mr. Piazza, and he also left after my sophomore year, but he definitely like I wasn't in choir in middle school, and so joining in high school was a little bit scary, but he really helped ease me into it and reminded me of how much I love singing and everything.
And the Topeka Public Schools is like amazing. I couldn't imagine being in any other district. I think we're so diverse, and that really has taught me so much to be with so many different kinds of people from different places. It really has shaped me, and I couldn't imagine going anywhere else. So yeah.
Thank you. And it's probably a good thing you're graduating. It sounds like you run off our teachers.
It feels like it.
And that's just what I wanted to do. Your smile is so amazing. So I'm glad I made you laugh.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Dr. Bonebrick?
Not really a question. It's just that I hope and pray that after your educational experience and employment experiences that you come back to Kansas or stay in Kansas, because we need people like you.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, congratulations on being selected as Student of the Month. You are the cream that rises to the top for the district, and it is an honor to get to sit here and celebrate you and see all the things and all the ways you've impacted the district as well as the district has impacted you. So thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much.
And we ask that our awardees, those being recognized, stay around for 5 more minutes. We know you took a picture with everyone, but your parents and you, the board, would love to have a picture with you. You have a seat for just a few minutes. Don't forget your gifts. As we continue with our recognitions, and I want to see, do we have social workers here this evening, Mrs. Sharp? We do not see our social workers here, and probably because Ms. Mills would have been teary-eyed, but she likely is watching. So we will show our video, our social work video that does highlight Ms. Mills this evening. We also want to recognize that we are proclaiming this evening as Read Across America week as well. Mrs. Sharp, as we go down this list of our proclamations, I know with Ms. Mills not being here, the Read Across America, I believe you have a video for that as well. All right, if we could show Ms. Mills's video for this evening. She will be having an event in the next several weeks. She retires at the end of the year. She just announced it this week. She is a grandmother of an infant and now a 3-year-old who she said has become her best friend, and he has been counting down the days until she concludes her time. That is the reason she's transitioning. So we'll go ahead and start the video, and we know several of our social workers are watching online. No, that's okay. As he prepares that video, Mrs. Sharp with Read Across America, are there comments that you'd like to make about Read Across America month and the recognition? And I believe I have the proclamation in my hand. So did you want to join me up here, or would you like me to bring you the proclamation?
I just want to say that we have had lots of activities happening in our schools over the last couple of weeks celebrating Read Across America. I think that several of the board members have been celebrities in our schools, and so we appreciate you taking time to do that. I myself also read to a 2nd grade class, and I was like, oh, just so fun to be able to take some time to be in the classroom with kids and watch them enjoy the stories. So thank you, Dr. Anderson.
So we are proclaiming today, March 2nd, as Read Across America Day. That video also will be pushed out on social media. We prepared for our social workers.
Read Across America.
We're going to start with Read Across America, and social workers, we're going to have to find the video and push it out.
Celebrating books, reading, and find that one book, you will remember it for the rest of your life.
There's so many different varieties of books to pick out from by different authors and illustrators. When I'm reading a book, it strengthens your vocabulary and it builds up your imagination.
I really like to use my imagination, and picturing the pictures in my head is just fun because then I could add my own little twist to it. Just the way that the author wrote the book can be like that one detail always at the end of the sentence will just make your mind just light up.
Books mean so much to them. They're their friends. They get so much from that, and they take great pride
Social
in
workers
what
are
they
very
read.
important
When I
for
run
our
into
children
former
in the
students
school.
who are
Our students
grown,
oftentimes
what
need
they will
additional
always say to me
support. They are
is,
part-
I loved it when you read to us. I loved it when I read this book. I can't think of anything better than doing this job.
Thank you to all of our individuals that are in the community and on our board who read and who continue to do that throughout the course of the year. You are an inspiration. And Mr. Reiner, you're doing a great job. All right, here at the social worker in the background, we're going to push out the social worker video later. That way Mills and all the social workers can see that. And perhaps that was divine intervention so that we celebrate reading our young people and ultimately social workers who also were on the video reading as well. Thank you. And Madam President, we'll turn it over to you as we are also celebrating Women's History Month. And we have a woman president and vice president, and we'll turn it over to you.
All right, we are going to take a moment to take a break, correct, and grab a picture?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Get right on.
We talked about it a few weeks ago, but then we did counselors recently.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is item 6, public comments. All right, next item is item 7, business by consent. I'm looking for a motion. Mr. Tatum?
Madam President, I move the board approve the items of business by consent as presented and authorize the board president or superintendent to sign the special project and purchasing contracts for and on behalf of the board.
Thank you, Mr. Tatum. I'm looking for a second. Dr. Schumacher? And we're ready for a vote.
The vote is open. Oh, Dr. Bonebrake not present that vote. Thank you. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Madam President? I
Yes.
did have a question on the consent agenda.
I apologize.
That's all right. I'm sure I would still vote for it. I just had a question about what is our annual renewal of HVAC? Yeah, HVAC controls.
Mr. Busey will
What
come
is
up.
there, like an annual renewal?
Mr. Busey's coming up to address that
Thank you.
question. He's very excited. He doesn't often get questions.
That is a service contract for HVAC work. So we've unfortunately had a hard time recruiting some HVAC folks. So we've had to go out and then the board has approved those in prior board agendas, those contracts, but this is just a renewal of such contract.
And so it's for repair of the HVAC
Yes, HVAC work. Yeah,
that we
yeah,
can't do from in-house.
correct. It's overload work.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, next item on the agenda is item 19, superintendent's report.
As we prepare for the superintendent's report, we have our auditor here this evening, but we also have had a question regarding our summer school update. We often give a superintendent's update. So at the conclusion of the auditor, who's our guest that's been waiting, we'll give that superintendent's update. And lastly, I do want to mention under the consent agenda, one update for those that are listening You just approved Miss Danielle Bergman as the assistant principal at Robinson. We're so excited for her. Additionally, Miss Desjardins, who's the new principal at McEachran Elementary. So congratulations to those both of those women this evening. At this time, we're going to turn it over to our auditor so she can prepare to share with you about the audit. At the conclusion of that, Ms. Wallace will return back to the superintendent's update and give a 1-minute, very brief update about what she's doing with summer school this summer.
All right. Tonight we have with us Miss Kayla Williams. Kayla is a principal at Swindle, Jansen, Hawk, and Lloyd, formerly BT & Co. She will be here to give the board report for our audit and then answer any questions that you might have.
All right, hello, everybody. In front of you, you should have a packet that has a letter addressed to the board, and that is what I'm going to go over today. But first, let me reintroduce myself. My name is Kayla Williams. I am a principal with now Swindle, Jansen, Hawk, and Lloyd. Effective January 1, our firm went through a merger. So formerly BT & Co., same team you're working with, just a new name. So new font and a new letterhead. That's about it. That letter in front of you today has some items that we are required to go over with you every year as part of this audit. So that is mostly what we're going to be going through. So let's start off on page 1. This is where we address our responsibility to perform an audit in accordance with specific accounting standards. So those standards require us to perform procedures to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free of material misstatement. Our procedures include examining on a test basis the evidence supporting the amounts and disclosures that are in your financial statements. We also assess the accounting principles used and the significant estimates made by management, as well as evaluate the overall financial statement presentation. So right off the bat, I am pleased to report that as a result of our audit, we have determined that the fiscal year 2025 financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects in conformity with generally accepted accounting principles. And we've issued what's called an unmodified opinion. So in audit world, that is essentially the best opinion that can be issued. So in that next 2 sections down there, you have a section called accounting policies and practices. This is where we would bring to your attention anything identified in the procedures that we performed related to significant alternative, adopted, changed, or controversial accounting practices. Any significant accounting policies in emerging areas or significant unusual transactions. So there were no items of this type to bring to your attention. However, in that last section, there were some significant estimates that we do summarize in an attachment to the back of the report. So nothing new with those this year. They're on page 4 and 5. Those estimates relate to your fair value of investments, the self-insurance reserve liability, your total OPEB liability, net pension liability, and subscription assets and liabilities. So our responsibility as auditors is just to analyze the process that the district uses in order to make these estimates. And as a result of our work, we concluded that they were all reasonable. Continuing on page 1 of the letter, we note that audit adjusting journal entries were recorded as part of the audit. Most of these are entity-wide journal entries, which are standard entries required for entities reporting under GAAP basis accounting. The district's fund level financials are adjusted to get to a government-wide financial statements. And so that's most of the journal entries that you're going to see. The next section, we described that there were some uncorrected misstatements, which were ultimately determined to be immaterial, both individually and in the aggregate. A summary of those uncorrected misstatements and the adjusting journal entries we made are both attached to the representation letter at the back of the report. In the observations about the audit process section, this is where we would inform you of any disagreements that we had while working with management or other significant issues. There are none of these matters to tell you about. And in fact, I'd like to inform you that during the audit, district's management and staff were very transparent and responsive to all of our questions since November. So they work with us for a long part of the year, and we really appreciate them. In the shared responsibilities for independence section, this is where we describe that as an auditing firm, we are required to maintain our independence both in mind and in appearance, both of mind and in appearance when providing the audit services. And so we just ask that the district inform us before entering into any relationships that might impair that independence. And finally, we have attached a copy of management's representation letter. So this letter just puts into writing the matters that are required by our standards to be represented to us by management. We provide this letter to you because we believe it'll help you to fulfill your fiduciary responsibilities and better understand some of the things that are within your financial statements. The achievement of an excellent audit report such as this is a testament of the district's preparedness for its audit, as well as maintaining good processes and internal controls throughout the year. Audits are very time and effort intensive. And so I just want to give a big special thanks to Matt and the rest of the team for all of their assistance this year. So with that, I will open it up to any questions about the audit. I know Matt has asked me to talk about one other thing, but I will start with questions on the audit first.
Does anyone have any questions? Seeing none.
Okay. Did you want any intro into this? Okay. The other thing that management did ask me to just present to you guys, you present your audit report under what's called generally accepted accounting principles, GAAP basis financials. Management has asked us to look into the option of what's called KMAG, regulatory basis accounting. So the state of Kansas has realized that it's very difficult for entities, especially smaller ones or schools or smaller cities, to report under GAAP basis financials. It requires that you guys get an actuarial report done every year to measure your liabilities for OPEB and net pension liability. You have different softwares that you have to track. You track your capital assets, and there's a lot of work done by management in order to do this. So the state's allowed for an option for you to waive GAAP and report under what's called regulatory basis of accounting, which is ultimately just a lot less burden on a district. And so that was why Kansas ultimately kind of gave this option. We've done some research. I think there's a total of 3 or 4 districts in the state of Kansas that are currently reporting under GAAP. So you guys are one of very few. And so that was kind of why we wanted to just see what this option would be about. So I did just want to explain some of those differences and give you guys an opportunity to ask questions about what that would look like. But ultimately, like I'd mentioned, under GAAP reporting, you've got your fixed asset schedule. You've got essentially 3 different sets of financials, government, your entity-wide financials, which report these things like this net pension liability that you guys have to get an actuarial valuation for every year, and lots of other things that just are cost and labor intensive in order to compile that information. And then you also have fund level financials. And then in the back, there's budgetary basis financials, which is really what most users of the district's financials care about. And that's kind of what the state of Kansas had decided when they came up with this regulatory basis. It would still provide all of that budget to actual comparisons, but you wouldn't have all of the GAAP base, the fixed assets, the debt schedules, a lot of that stuff that the management has to come up with the calculations for each year, and it can be very difficult. There are still footnote disclosures that describe a lot of the things that the states decided that the users are probably interested in. Things like what liabilities you guys will have outstanding. You still have to disclose what debt you have. Well, it's not in your financials, you still disclose it. So it's more presented in line with how you guys budget and how you're internally operating as it is. So that was just something that would have to be considered. Ultimately, we're your auditors. We are not here to make the decision about what basis of accounting you use. This is an option that you have. It would be the board's decision. In order to waive GAAP, you'd have to have a resolution done annually where you decide to do that, essentially. So I just wanted to present that to you guys and give you an opportunity to ask any questions. I'm also available if you have more questions later, because I know.
Dr. Schumacher?
Is there a benefit to continuing with GAAP? Like, for instance, like, does Moody's look at a GAAP audit differently than a KMAG?
That is a great question. It's one of the first that we thought of as well. We met with our bond counsel as we began to contemplate this decision to ask what would any potential effect look like to our bond rating with the 2 companies that were rated by. They looked at the data, their models for ratings, also examples of different cities and school districts within the state that have made this switch and what effects it had on them. We were glad to hear that they did not think that we should base this decision on that, because the effects just, it wasn't material. If you were potentially in some scenario just right on the cusp of a downgrade or upgrade, it might give you an extra point or one less, being one side or the other. But the idea that we would actually be in that situation would just be very rare.
Thank you. And let it be known I asked a great question, please.
I'm taking note.
Put it in the record.
Taking note right now.
Another great question. So we've got two tonight. All right. So our intention, after bringing this to the finance committee, having great discussion there in depth, and now bringing it up with the full board as part of our audit report, if there's no objections, we would bring a resolution to you at the next regular meeting to waive gap for the fiscal year 25-26. So next year's audit report would be completed with some transition work that has to happen the first year you do it under that new basis of accounting.
I think Mr. Tatum has a question.
I do, and I think probably for Mr. Isner. So if I understand Kayla's comment correctly, it sounds like to make this decision to change from the GAP system, we would have to make that on an annual basis. So every year we'd have to come back and make a resolution to approve changing our accounting system.
Yes, sir. 3 for 3 on great question. So, yes, we would begin to make that part of the annual process, probably the first meeting in July each year. We would just have a standard resolution that you would approve for the next fiscal year.
For the fiscal year. Okay. And am I also correct in assuming that all the other districts that have decided to move away from the GAP system, that's something they have to do on an annual basis as well?
Yes, sir. Out of 291 school districts in the state of Kansas, we can find 3 that are currently reporting under full GAP. So all of those are completing that yearly resolution.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Isner? Ms. Williams? Mr. Munoz?
So this is a little bit less work for us and a little bit simpler. My question is that extra work we're doing to sort of keep track of our financials, what happens to that work if we're no longer, are we still keeping track of it, or can you speak to that?
So are you asking about just what will the people who are working on that do instead, or are you saying what happens to the reporting?
Yeah. So speak to what's the extra work that we're not going to be doing and what happens? Are we tracking it at all? We're just going to stop?
We may tag team this a little bit.
That's fine.
I think with this, what the extra things that are going into this report, which make your audit report, the 2 books together, about 180 pages, under a GAP waived report, you'd probably be about 70 to 80 pages total. So there is significantly less work. And Kayla will go through the separate items again. She had that long bullet list. But from the staff and then what the business office will do standpoint, I'll take that just this is going to help, one, make a better, easily digestible report for the public that they can read and understand, because it's going to, if you're looking at the financial statements, it's going to make more sense like you're balancing your checkbook. It's based on when the money comes in, on what date, and then what date you spend the money, instead of trying to go back and back things out because of when, say, your utility bill, what dates did that cover in the past? So you're doing a lot of work to translate it into that GAP report that wouldn't need to be done. But Matt or Kayla, if you have anything to add.
I was just going to say, Mr. Isnar, he came from a district that waived GAP. So early on when he arrived, we were talking about some things, and I asked him why their financial statements were half the size of ours. And he asked me why I was working on a management discussion analysis. He didn't have to do a 20-page paper. So we figured out that that's what it was, the difference between the 2 entities. And like he mentioned, we were just one of 3. But yeah, our capital asset accounting, we do a depreciation schedule, which is probably not meaningful to most users. They're more worried about what the true cost of the equipment is in that particular year instead of spreading it out over time. And there's many other things. It would be a true time saver that we could take that time and then turning it into more meaningful activity, looking for cost savings, and utilizing what we have.
Okay, thank you. And Kayla, anything you want to add to that?
I was going to add just a little bit to that. I would say things like tracking your capital assets, that will probably still be maintained just to make sure you still have things. But yeah, you wouldn't have to record the depreciation expense anymore. Or there's a debt book is a software that you guys have purchased to help track leases and subscription assets and liabilities. And this giant journal entry comes from that. That wouldn't be necessary. You also pay for an actuarial report every year from two different OPEBs and, well, I guess you don't, capers is, okay. And it's from CBIZ, and that wouldn't be necessary anymore. So there's a footnote disclosure about the net pension liability that capers has, but not the rest. So there would be quite a few items like that that wouldn't be necessary.
All right. Thank you all.
Any further questions? All right, seeing none, I want to thank you all for your time. It takes a special mind to be able to. Are you done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you want me to stay.
It takes a special mind for you guys to be digging into these numbers and looking at finances and a special heart. And I definitely don't have that mind or heart. So we very much value and appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
All right. So I placed in your, right in front of you, a one pager on summer programs for the summer. So just really quickly, we have several different programs going on. Traditional, we have our Native American Studies, our music camp, enrichment. Our Schools on Improvement will all have academic summer programs, credit recovery at the high school, and then our 21st Century Schools also have programming. So there's really a lot going on in Topeka Public Schools this summer.
That concludes our update. But Dr. Mejia will be coming to talk about summer schools in a couple of months right before we start. Enrollment hasn't started yet, but it will in the next couple of months. Madam President.
Mr. Tatum.
Thank you, Madam President. I did have one quick question, Mrs. Wallace. Thank you for this information. This overview is very helpful. It looks like there's a fee for the high school credit recovery and acquisition program, but I don't see fees listed for any of the other programs.
So there are varying programs that have different things going on. The 21st Century grants, the Schools on Improvement that have summer programs, those are all at no expense. So the enrichment classes would be at the cost of $50 for the week. We asked that they put a $10 down payment down. We found that really makes a difference on whether or not families show up after they've signed up. And then even within that, if they are academic oriented courses, there will be scholarships available.
Okay, thank you.
In the scholarship, it would be the remaining $40 for the week for everybody who's enrolled in an academic course.
Ms. Boley?
And how is a scholarship decided? Is that building principals or?
No, it's being essentially funded through Title I. And since 75% of our schools are Title I, that's how it's being scholarshiped.
Okay. And so if we have a bunch of kids that need the scholarship, it would cover a bunch of kids.
It will cover 100% of them.
All of the students would receive the scholarship.
And then we wouldn't
So-
have like a waiting list.
Correct.
Correct.
So there are things that I can't pay for out of federal dollars, like anything that's sports related. I mean, there really needs to be an academic component to it. An example would be kids cooking. I can pay for that. There's a lot of reading and measurement in cooking. So we really work to integrate the math and the language so that we can help fund those things.
And then how do we decide who pays the full amount?
It's based on what they enroll in. So if they enroll in an academic-oriented class, they're just paying the $10 to hold their spot.
For all of them?
Correct.
Okay.
So all of the programs are at no cost, but the enrichment programs that Title doesn't cover. So we're excited to be able to offer summer programming again that is free to our students, with the exception of a reserved $10. And even if they can't reserve that, they still would have a reserved space.
Got it.
We were at one time unsure if we could do summer programming, but Title funds did come through. The same amount that we got last year, we received this year. Therefore, we can continue with our summer program as we did last year. Thank you so much for that update, Ms. Wallace.
Mr. Tatum has one more
I have
question.
one last quick question. when are you anticipating that the enrollment process will begin? When is as soon as that parents will be able to go on and start enrolling their kids?
So I would be remiss if I didn't give Dr. Mejia a lot of credit. She's really got into the weeds of it, and it will be open for enrollment next week.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
All right. The next item we have on the agenda is 20, and that is action items. The first item is 20.1, board approval of recommended policy committee changes to district policies and regulations. Do we want to highlight those changes? Does anybody have any questions, or we want to make a motion to approve those? If so, I'm looking for a motion.
So moved.
Dr. Bonebrick, and a second. Dr. Schumacher, any discussion about those changes? Ms. Boley?
I understand you had some people from the public come in and talk with the policy committee. Who are those people? How are they connected to our district?
You may be speaking of the, I believe at the policy committee, there may have been a KNEAT member that came and listened in. Potentially, Chef Livingston is nodding his head. I wasn't at your different policy committees, but I do know that that might be who you may be speaking with, or maybe speaking of. And in those cases, I believe, Ms. Whiteman, the conversations in those cases are really just listening and also sharing some interest about legislation and just overall comments. Am I correct? Legislation, as there are several bills impacting young people, transgender and otherwise, that are impacting young people. And I believe there was some discussion, or at least comments in that regard. Is there anything else, Mrs. Whiteman, or other members who may have been part of the policy committee that want to speak to that?
Ms. Whiteman?
Basically, policy committee meetings are open meetings, so therefore anybody can attend them. Members of KNEA who are interested in policy and operations frequently attend. The purpose of the policy meeting is for the board's members, but it's always helpful to hear their perspective, and they usually offer suggestions and ideas or ask questions, which helps for a better end product, because the more input and ideas that you have to share, the better policy results. So it's not unusual for members or employees to attend the policy committee meeting.
Mr. Tatum, Mr. Munoz, do you have anything to add?
Just that I did meet with Mr. Livingston, and we had a great conversation, and you felt that the things that he had issues with or concerns with were addressed in some of those changes. So
Great. I'm glad we had some voice from our district to help us make the best policy possible.
All right, if there's no further discussion, we're ready for a vote.
The vote is open. And all votes are in, and the motion carries unanimously.
All right, next item is item 20.2. It is possible action to,
Madam President, we have to go to discussion first.
On-
We haven't discussed the resolution for that action.
oh, okay. All right. So then we're going to jump to 21, which is discussion items. And 21.1 is, if we start there, it is resource adoption.
All right, Ms. Wallace will give a very, just a general overview. She left some materials for you. If there are questions, she's prepared to answer those, and she has staff that can answer them. But Ms. Wallace is excited to share her overview.
So thank you. Yes, those are back there. Please feel free to take them and bring them back so that you can have time to review them. We're looking at middle school language arts and science and a couple of high school science courses.
What is significantly different about the science resources is that they are open educational resources produced by a corporation, the Gates Foundation. There's several nonprofit organizations that put them together. So the resources themselves are at no cost. The cost to continue or to utilize that resource would be printing and then also lab resources, which we purchase every year as is.
Dr. Bonebrick?
How far through these texts are the students expected to complete? I don't remember ever finishing a textbook in grade school, middle school, or high school.
So our curriculum design maps are written standards-based so that they address the standards that they need to master throughout the year. So they may not start the chemistry book from beginning to end. They may move around in it so that they are ensuring that they are teaching to mastery of all the standards. No, not the test, the state standards.
Madam President, are there other questions for Ms. Wallace regarding the resource adoptions that she's excited to have you take and look through?
Mr. Munoz?
Would you speak to the process that you go through in order to be able to get to this, what you feel is where we might be headed?
Correct. So we put a letter out to publishers requesting samples. The language arts resource that is recommended, we actually started that resource adoption process 2 years ago because we looked at it for adoption last year and pushed pause on it for a moment. So the committee looks at it, which is the curriculum and assessment team. They review it based on a rubric. They look at the standards, and if the standards are adequately taught to mastery. They look at the percentage of fiction versus nonfiction. They look at diversity and equity and ensure that all is represented in the text. So it's a pretty thorough review of the text materials. And then it's narrowed down to the top 1 or 2. We usually have a short presentation and then the committee votes.
Sorry, just one more follow-up. And when you talk about the committee, could you talk a little bit about the groups and sort of who have input and help to make these decisions?
Correct. They're classroom teachers. So for the middle school language arts resource adoption, it's our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade language arts teachers that represent our middle schools that write our curriculum around our standards. And they were the team that selected this resource. I would also share that this particular resource for language arts is on Ed Reports as one of the top resources.
Any other questions for Ms. Wallace? None?
We will bring this back at the next meeting for and request for it to be approved.
All right. With that, we move to discussion item 21.2, which is resolution 26010 to dispose of school district buildings.
Good evening again. Bringing to you this evening a resolution to begin the process of offering to the state the first right of refusal for 3 buildings, Lundgren, Stout, and Avondale East. All of these buildings have been discussed with the Finance Committee a couple months in a row now at their meetings. And then we've addressed other questions with the board individually as those have come up. I'm happy to address any other questions that you might have this evening. Again, just a kind of an overview of that process. This first step is just sending it to the state while they are in session, giving them first right of refusal for those buildings. They may or may not have any interest in purchasing those from us. If they don't take any action on their end within 45 days at the end of the session, then we will begin our work of looking at what options we have to either sell or otherwise dispose of those buildings. So no action specifically on the table tonight as far as what will ultimately happen with each of those properties, just beginning the process.
Does anyone have any questions? Dr. Schumacher?
I think Mr. Isner answered this, but the timeline, so we now have to wait until 45 days after the end of the session before we would proceed with the next step. Is that right? After the resolution?
So they'll have 45 days from when we submit our notice. Misspoke on that. If we did not get it to them while they're in session, so if we waited another month or two before we had sent it, it would not, the clock wouldn't start for them until the next session. So they would have until 45 days after that one. So that would essentially extend this process by a year if we were to wait.
But 45 days from the time we get them the resolution.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Thank you.
Any other questions? Ms. Lister, do you want us to move on action item 20.2 now, or do you prefer us to go through our board goals and then come back to that?
I would say do the resolution now, so for continuity.
Okay. So if no one has any other questions, action item 20.2 is the possible action to approve resolution 26010 to dispose of school district buildings. I am looking for a motion. Mr. Tatum?
Madam President, I move the board approve resolution 26-010 to dispose of school district property as presented.
Thank you. I have a motion. I need a second. Dr. Bonebrake, thank you. Any discussion? All right, we're ready to vote.
The vote is open. All votes are in and the motion carries unanimously.
All right, then we're going to jump back down to discussion items, item 21.3, and that is our board goals. We had a couple of different presentations with Dr. Meckel, and we had a board retreat this last weekend. One of the things that we need to do are come up with some board goals. He did kind of identify that sweet spot is 3. So at this time, we kind of want to start discussion as to what those might be. Dr. Anderson's leadership team has offered to help as we work on identifying what those board goals are, have volunteered to help us create SMART goals out of those. So as we work forward, we can be able to measure ourselves and see how we're doing. So with that, if I can start, I did ask Dr. Beeson what she might like to see as some board goals since she wasn't going to be here this evening. And the 2 that she gave me were, one was an emphasis on recruitment and retention. And she said she's not exactly sure what that looks like, but she'd like to see a decrease in unfilled long-term subs. And then the other piece that she suggested was something related to staff morale and satisfaction. So those were 2 that she suggested. What other ideas do board members have?
Ms. President, I am wondering if these are board goals or superintendent goals that we're trying to come up with.
These are our board goals.
So how would we have input into retention?
Well, I
And
think
how would that, I'm not sure how we can do that and then create a SMART goal to measure what we've done with that. So That's why I'm asking. It
Good-
sounds like those are superintendent.
Good question, good question. And I think a lot of times our board goals are kind of adopted by the superintendent as things that, because they're things we want to see the district do. So things that we're focusing on as a board. And really, we're handing a lot of that off to the superintendent to get into the weeds of that and how we can actually affect those. Am I wrong?
So,
Everyone feel free to speak up.
I would like to suggest that we work on our superintendent goals because we are in April. And we would really like to see her work on some things that we have concerns about in the district or want to see move forward in the district and get her goals in place and then come back and work on what we have concerns about and that we would like to measure ourselves on at another meeting. Would
Okay.
that be a possibility?
I think that's a possibility. Does anybody have a
Something everybody could.
differing
agree on?
view? Is everybody amenable to that?
I mean, I'm just trying to figure out what of those, is there a certain order that needs to come first? I really don't know. Which,
If I may offer, our strategic plan, which Mr. Reinert is pulling up on the screen, which is on our website, gives you the pillars in which you really are saying, these are the things important to the district and the board. Through that strategic plan, often your goals fall in any one of those pillars. Those goals, when you say, I would love to see the district have mental health mentors, one year you shared that, or I'd love to see us improve academically by a certain percentage. Those are goals that you would be talking about this evening. Those goals become how I'm evaluated, how they're evaluated, but they also really are the goals for the district that we say, this is how we want to see the district move. So in many ways, they're the same thing. I think perhaps what you are talking about is once you lay this out, perhaps you have added discussion about the pillars, the strategic plan, you're working on it anyway, and items related to the district. Once you pinpoint those top 3 things you'd like to see movement on. And so what we need to know is for those 3 things for the 2026 calendar year. Last year, moving out of level 1, you remember that was one of those things. Also, mental health mentors. So we retained those folks. But last year, you had like 7 of them. And I think that's where Doug Meckel said, what are your top 3 things, which is where Ms. Schmidt is suggesting that you go, and Ms. Boley is sharing those top 3 things as well. That will be how I'm evaluated. That will be how the team's evaluated. But that then sets the foundation for the district saying, this is the direction we're going into. I don't know if that helps at all in terms of your work for this evening. So as you talk about topics, we're taking notes. If you would like SMART goals written, which I believe you do, we're going to be making some of those, and then we're going to share that back with you at your next board meeting and in the weeks between to tweak that language. Is that appropriate, Madam President?
I would agree. I would concur.
So, Madam President, I appreciate what Dr. Anderson and Mrs. Boley are contributing to the discussion here, because I think we're trying to wrap our arms around what our task is here exactly. But I think it's possible that we are running the risk of confusing board goals with the strategic development plan. And I don't think that they are the same. I'm thinking that when we're talking about board goals and things that we as a board, the 7 of us, want to work on ourselves and develop ourselves over the course of the next year. So I'm looking at the document that Dr. Meckel gave us on Saturday, Domains of Effective Leadership, the board version, in which it talks about visionary leadership, change leadership, inclusive leadership, instructional, managerial, and interpersonal leadership. And so to me, I've been thinking, what are some things within those domains that we might identify as far as what we are doing in terms of building ourselves up and working together more effectively as a board. To me, that's different than setting expectations through the strategic plan. So I'm okay with doing it in any way that we want to do it, but I think there might be some confusion on what exactly should be a part of the board goal process.
Okay, well, I think I'm sorry, Ms. Boley?
So we just completed the superintendent's evaluation.
Mhm.
Part of our discussion was that we didn't have like SMART goals around them, so it
Correct.
made the evaluation really difficult.
Correct.
And so really, we need to be speaking about what our evaluation is of our superintendent at the end of the year. What do we want to put in her evaluation to measure? And then also do something very similar for us as a board
Correct.
that we want to measure ourselves. But I
Correct.
don't think we can do both of
No.
those tonight.
No, we need to
We wanna-
start
that's-
we need to start with the district, right? And then once we get that set for her, because as you mentioned, we are already 3 months into the year, and this is for the calendar year 2026. So we need to focus on that and identify those 3 things, because we all agreed that 7 was trying to accomplish too much, spreading ourselves too thin. So we're trying to identify approximately 3 goals that we have for the district, which will in turn be owned by Dr. Anderson.
So, Madam President, is the idea, I'm really kind of throwing this out to everyone, is the idea that working on the superintendent/district goals first going to make it easier for us to then develop board goals that are kind of building on that momentum? Is that?
That
So
makes more sense.
that's what you're thinking, Mrs. Boley. Okay. Mr. Munoz, look like you may not agree with that.
Yeah, I think our goals seems like come first and Dr. Anderson follows whatever we should be headed. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to understand the way that you are seeing it.
I would be inclined to agree with Mr. Munoz. I'm okay with doing it either way, but I'm thinking from a hierarchical perspective, if we establish the board goals first, then that can kind of trickle down into what the district and superintendent goals are. But again, I'm okay with.
Yeah, so
doing it
help me to understand your sort of line of thinking so that I could.
So when we think about our board goals, for me and my thought process, it's what are the things that we want our meetings to be about? What is it that we really want to focus on as a board for a directive in our district? Now, once we do that, I think Dr. Anderson will still pick those up. But the goals that we need for Dr. Anderson are for her evaluation at the end of the year, so that it makes our job of evaluating her easier. And for me, we need to get those in place for her so she can start working on those as they start planning for the next academic school year. Or just not even the academic school, just the next school year. It seems like those need to be in place. And then we create goals of what are really important to us that we want to drive forward in the district. And then I know she'll pick up on those. I mean, what she sees in place that are interests for us, and also that we would like to see at our board, superintendent reports. That is my line of thinking. But I really feel like we have to get something in place for her to be working on as our superintendent for making plans for our next school year.
If I may, Madam President, this is the time of the year that every year you have board goals listed so that each member of the team, we have direction on where you want to see movement between now and the end of the 2026 year. The evaluation was a little delayed to February, but between February and March, you always have, here are the goals we need you to focus on this year in terms of things you want to see movement on.
I think the confusion, if I may, is coming from because we're calling them board goals and we're using that language as two different things. So historically, we've called the goals that we create for you the board goals. But now we're wanting to add a layer of accountability to ourselves.
Board self-evaluation.
They're Board goals. And so I think that's where we're tripping up just a little bit. Dr. Schumacher, I haven't heard from you. Can I pick on you?
Yeah, I think I would tend to lean and agree with Sue that I think it's important for us to set the goals for the district first and the superintendent and the leadership team. And even though some of that, I think how we work together is important and that's what help drives those goals. I think just given the time of the year, I think we need to focus on the goals that the board has for the district. And then the board can turn back on itself and look at the goals and look at the goals that we decide for the district and how can we be a better board to meet those goals as well.
And then I think I'd add on to that we'd have the opportunity, since creating goals for ourselves as a board that we want to be held accountable to, if the timing seems odd this year because it's the initial time that we're doing this, we always have the opportunity to start this a little sooner next year if you feel like it makes more sense to have the cadence of board goals, district goals, then. So would everybody be amenable to working on the district goals? I'm going to call them district goals, the goals that we're setting for the district, not the board per se. Okay. So we're going to open this up to discussion then. I mentioned two that Dr. Beason were kind of near and dear to her heart. Again, those were recruitment and retention, and then morale and satisfaction.
You go ahead. Ladies first. You go.
So I handed out some pages to each of you. It is something, I think there were 4 of us that were at the conference, KSB conference in Wichita. And one of the things that Dr. Watson spoke about was a need in pre-K through 2nd grade to really strengthen our 2nd grade readiness. And he challenged everybody in the room to put as much effort into this project as we did into graduation rates. Our graduation rates across Kansas are looking very, very good. And so now he was challenging us on this. Since I was sitting at a table with Mr. Tatum, we were kind of at an angle. So I didn't get a good picture of the slide. So I used my teacher art ability to try to explain this. And, and so as you see in pre-K, the children that come in at risk, and then we have some risk and then low risk. And low risk meaning that they are really on that level and performing strongly. And this is state data, and it goes clear across the board. And if you look at 2nd grade, our high risk really grows. And our some risk, that's it. Yes, that would have been great to have. And our some risk stays, pretty level. We don't really change it much. And our low risk actually is pretty, it's only like 49.9%. And so I've written I talked to Dr. Kipp about this to see if our data was even close to being similar. And it is very similar. We are seeing very much the same pattern in our pre-K through 2nd grade. And so I spoke with him about what would be reasonable in a SMART goal. And so I made 2 separate SMART goals because I made one for math, which our district does look better in than reading, because reading is a science. It's really hard to move kids that struggle with reading. So I have my first goal for the superintendent as students enter pre-K through 2nd grade at low or at risk. we'll see a 5% movement to low risk in math by second grade or before. And then similar SMART goal for reading, only the percentage is 3% because it's a little bit harder mark to move. But 3% is still quite a bit, and it gives us a nice foundation to start with and move further into as we go along. So those are the SMART goals that I had in academics, and wondering if there is any interest or discussion around that to add to the information that I gave you.
Dr. Schumacher?
I'd almost think that, because I was kind of thinking around the science of reading and our implementation of letters and just those big changes over the last 18 months or whatever, and how can we track that? And I almost think our goal would be a bit broader, and then we can have some of this be a SMART goal that Dr. Anderson has for her specific superintendent goal, but I think for the board would be looking at that kind of second grade readiness. And then we can kind of get into the granules with SMART goals, that kind of stuff. But I think the information that Dr. Watson shared was pretty powerful at the KASB conference on how big of a difference those first 2 or 3 years, the pre-KK and first grade, made as they got ready for second grade going into third grade, but even then beyond into high school and after the fact. So I think, yes, I would agree, because we've looked at moving out of level 1 for a while. We've looked at graduation rates for a while. But if we're looking on the horizon and what's another aspect that maybe we'll want to set that magnifying glass. But I would challenge and say we make that lens a little bit bigger. And then that allows the other members of the leadership team to be able, it's not just Dr. Anderson, and we don't have to necessarily get this granular, I think, tonight, but looking at the second grade readiness or whatever we want to call it.
So a SMART goal is pretty granular, I believe.
I don't think we have to set SMART goals tonight, is what I'm saying.
No, and I think the leadership team offered to help us take our ideas and create a SMART goal from our ideas, just since they're in the weeds of doing that day after day.
Yeah, and I think it's a great SMART goal, Sue, but I think when we're talking about what do we want to look at tonight, I think keeping it a little bit broader. So when Dr. Anderson and I met with Dr. Meckel, we talked about this a little bit. When you look at 17 goals, you're probably too granular on those goals. But if you pick a moving out of level 1, that's a big goal. And there's a lot of things, a lot of different parts to move. And we can choose parts of that to measure for SMART goals for Dr. Anderson or other people on the team. But I think we can still keep our board vision, our goals broader.
So
At least for tonight.
Ms. Sharp, if I may, I'm sorry, Madam President, I'm sorry, Dr. Schumacher just typed in, as she's typing in the notes of early childhood literacy readiness for second grade. Thank you, Mr. Munoz and others who have sent, and Ms. Boley for the graph, and then some of you just sent the graph that you took the picture of. Ms. Sharp also put that in chat GTP as well. And it said, broad goals based on this graph. So we're going to be following up with you with items as she's on her computer taking that. Dr. Gray and Ms. Wallace is doing the same. But we'll be sending you, here's some broad goals related to what you just talked about. And then the team will work on, here are some various things that we'll do in that area, which may well include what you just sent. So thank you both, Ms. Boley and Dr. Schumacher.
And the only other thing that I would add to this conversation is to keep in mind the students that could use and benefit from our focus. Where are there areas who most would benefit from making sure that we're focused on those reading goals and those math scores, so that those kids, are on track to be successful and make a difference in their lives going forward. So,
You mean students in poverty?
yeah, exactly. Look through the lens of who are the students who would benefit most from having a focus on their classrooms and their schools.
Mr. Tatum?
I found, I found several slides from Commissioner Watson's presentation that has already been referred to. There's a couple of slides in here. There's 4 bullet points that I just kind of wanted to put out for our consideration, because he was really strongly advocating that we consider we school boards across the state consider these things. The question is, what can school boards do to increase success in students? Number 1, have time at every board meeting about reading, math, data, and what improvement is being seen throughout the year. Number 2, hold the community, administration, and staff accountable to raising reading and math success. Number 3, share data with parents and explain what can be done at school and at home to increase reading and math success. Number 4, all pre-K elementary teachers and elementary principals trained in LETRS. That's an acronym, LETRS. We're doing good. And there's a 5th one, sorry. Number 5, adopt a rigorous ELA and math curriculum. So those things can kind of maybe inform our thinking as we move forward with trying to figure out what kinds of goals for the district might be really important. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, we could definitely build on some of those for ourselves. So we've got what Ms. Boley has provided, and we've gotten some additional context from Dr. Schumacher, Mr. Munoz about those. We have Ashley's too. Any other ideas?
I think Dr. Beeson's kind of speaks to our highly effective staff, like the recruitment and retention, staff morale, satisfaction. So I'm not sure how you probably, I think we would try to encapsulate that all
In one.
And I'm not sure what that would look like, but I think that obviously is a big pillar to helping our students be successful. So I think we would all agree that should still be a focus somehow under that.
And I think Ms. Sharp could probably put those in ChatGPT and find a way to combine those as a single goal. So if we do that, and then and we're by no means just limited to 3 tonight. I mean, if we want to come up with additionals and then narrow it down to 3 once we get the feedback from leadership, we're more than welcome to do that. Just as, do people have additional ideas, suggestions? Give you.
We'll send you the draft feedback on Monday, either Friday or Monday.
Dr. Schumacher?
I just think the concern looking forward is what does funding all of these things look like as well. Finance is not super, I kind of hate finance, but it's not super glitzy or glammy, but it does feel like we always need to do more. We will be spending more because stuff is more expensive, and it's going to be with less. And I don't know what that, but if I was going to look at 3 pillars, I think it's for me as a board member, the staff, the student learning, those, like, where do we focus to affect students, and then the finance.
But to build onto that, setting these goals, if we get to a point, depending on state legislation, federal legislation, where funding is questionable, these help drive where we want to focus our dollars on.
Yeah, that's true.
So
That's right.
Ms. Boley?
So I don't know if it's completed, but we've been doing a facilities audit. Has that been completed yet?
They actually have been out in buildings this week, and will be wrapping up here within this month. There will be some time where they need to put all of that data together. Then we're hoping to have draft reports by May, and then a final report that would be ready for the public at a public meeting by June.
And do you believe that's going to be a pretty good size report?
I hate to guess, but I think we are going to come back with more deferred maintenance than we would have anticipated. Yes, just based on early results.
So I'm wondering if that's something that we want the superintendent to be very involved in as we talk about our finance and how tight it could possibly be with lower enrollment and legislative directives. If that is something that we want to try to look around and keep track of and really drive, help have her be supervising that closely. I'm assuming she would anyway, but I don't know if we need that as a goal.
Well, I think it would be under Mr. Isnard, right, and Nate, and they would report up to her. So, I mean, but I kind of think about how would you make that a
Measurable.
how would you make that a measurable goal? And do we want to keep our focus on engaging, preparing, and inspiring students? You know, that's just facilities and, you know, those things are just things that kind of have to happen. So again, just trying to call us back to, do we want to look at things from the, you know, that level of a view, or are we going to assume that Dr. Anderson's going to work with her leadership
that
team to make
anyway.
those things sure those things are copacetic, and the goals that we want to do should really be focused kind of more on students? And yeah, I'm just asking rhetorical questions here. Mr. Munoz?
Yeah, so, you know, we're talking about, you know, math and reading for our younger kids, and we talk about high school graduation. But one of the things we might also consider as an area is the sort of social emotional component for students, especially, you know, our middle school students middle school is a tough time, a very hard time. And when we look at, when I see issues with our students, oftentimes in that area, it's our middle school kids. So that might just throwing it out there so we have more, not just 3, but more than that to consider.
I do know that there's legislation to cut all the money for mental health mentors. And so how would we build around that, particularly like you say in middle school, supporting them? You know, to create some type of goal around that, about how we can support our students in middle school and give them a better footing to work with. Particularly probably in self-esteem and confidence. And that can be measured. We could measure that with student surveys and social work and counselor information.
Absolutely.
So I think Mr. Munoz is on a good track there. I think we really need to be thinking about how to support those students.
And I think that we heard feedback from our survey that we did of all staff, right? That we had those mental health positions that were put in place during COVID. And one of the resounding pieces of feedback that we got were schools didn't want to lose those. And so Dr. Anderson worked with her team to get creative to make sure that we were able to keep those positions. So I think it's important to our staff in the district as well.
And I would add, you mentioned a few minutes ago, you were talking about basically the buildings and other infrastructure. I think those things are important to keep in mind as well, in addition to student achievement and student success, because at the end of the day, we're responsible for all of it. Correct. So it's absolutely in our purview to make sure that all of those things are being done well.
So the infrastructure and basically the facilities. All right. Anybody have any other suggestions? We definitely don't have to put a period on this tonight. It can definitely be a semicolon. We can continue it. But they can at least work with what we've provided so far. But if there are other things, please jot those down and either bring them to the next meeting, or you can even send them to the group or Miss Lister. And well, not this group. I was thinking that group.
The
We all know we
administrative
would
group, yeah.
never send an email to this group. Not at least all at the same time on the same email. All right, anything else, you guys, on this?
Thank you for the very long list. We will draft some
Perfect.
potential language and start sending that out so you can begin thinking about and narrowing that to your top items. We really appreciate it.
Dr. Anderson, it was a stream of consciousness.
All right, next item we have on the agenda is 22, which is board member comments. We'll start down with where we lost Dr. Bonebreak.
Dr. Bonebreak had to attend to emergency, unfortunately.
He
so,
bailed. All
yeah.
right, so Dr. Schumacher, it's you. You don't have to follow him.
I know, this is great. And I didn't have any committees, health insurance. Mr. Busey, health insurance is gonna happen, you think, this month or? Okay, so it might be next month before health insurance. And then Equity Council will be in a couple weeks. I did participate in Read Across America at Loman Hill. That would have been last week. And so I will also shamelessly plug Roland Read is coming up next month, April 25th, if you want to save the date. I appreciate the time and the space to have our retreat on Saturday. I do think that was very valuable. I also went to Wizard of Oz on Saturday. I had alluded, maybe at the board meeting, maybe at the retreat, my oldest was Toto. My oldest is here for government class, so. But Jack did a great job stage managing. It was a fantastic show. And I enjoyed a fantastic concert last night. Topeka had their band concert, their spring band concert. And I think that's all I have.
I have no committee reports either. I don't know what's happening. So I don't have any reports at this time. I was yesterday at Kansas Association of School Board Day at the State House, where board members from across the state came to visit with legislators and to talk about some of the issues. And, you know, it's just interesting to hear from different districts that show up, their concerns and what they're struggling with. I think you've probably seen in the news, we've had districts having to have closing building discussions because of budgets that are getting tightened by legislation. So it was an interesting day. It's been a frustrating year. And I know Mr. Edwards is coming next month to talk with us, so I will not spoil his report. Mr. Munoz invited me to a JAG meeting. One of the things they need for their grant is to present to board members. And they needed us to present at 9:30 in the morning. So he thought, well, she's probably not doing anything. Just sleeping. And so anyway, it was a really fantastic meeting. We had students from Topeka West, Topeka High, and Highland Park, all of them giving their views of what JAG has done for them in their life and what a difference it has made for them. Very powerful testimony from the students, many of them saying that they, were lost until JAG pulled them in. And that, even a couple of them said that they thought of their JAG leaders as like a substitute for a mother and a substitute for a father. And it was just very powerful. And we're hoping that presenting to us helps them with their grant. Want to congratulate Topeka West. I don't know if we have a score yet, but Topeka West, what? They started at 8. And so hopefully they'll go all the way for us. That would be very exciting. And I wanted to congratulate Topeka High girls for making it to sub-state. I know they wish they could have gone further, but what a change in their program. And it's just really been built up and all the way to sub-state. Also, Mr. Tatum and I entered into the data consult meetings with staff. They're over for the rest of the year. Anytime anybody can get into those, it really gives you a deep dive into the activities in the school, particularly around academics and attendance, and how they're reaching out to their kids and also making a difference for them. And they're just, I'm sure you'll agree, they're very powerful. We don't really do anything except for really wave, and then if we get put on the spot. But basically, we're just there to listen and observe and see what's happening in our buildings. And I would suggest if anybody gets the opportunity to do that next year, to really do that. It's great direction for our buildings, and it's led very well with data information. So it's very data driven. And I will pass it on to Mr. Tatum.
Well, I would absolutely second what Mrs. Boley said about the data consults. It was my first time sitting in on them. I've been telling everybody I'm sad that it took this long for me to do it. I had no idea what kind of impact they would have, just in terms of understanding the process and understanding what specific schools are working on in terms of trying to meet the needs of students academically and to bring everyone up to a highest level as possible. It's just really incredible. And you know, the faculty, teachers, administrators, they're all doing fantastic work in terms of trying to solve issues and to meet the challenges that are present in their individual schools. So I was incredibly impressed, and I'm glad I got to sit in on part of it with Mrs. Boley. I was also there for the following day, which would have been March the 11th. So I got to see a number of other schools in theirs at that time. It feels like the last couple weeks have been really busy for me. So in addition to the data consults, I was, as we've already kind of looked at, the Read Across America event. I think it was taking place all week long. I was one of the folks that was blessed enough to be asked to read to kids. And so on March 5th, I was invited to read to preschoolers at Lowman Hill. That was a blast. And then the following day on March 6th, I was invited to Williams and read to, so I think they were a little older. I think they're maybe third or fourth grade, but they were fantastic as well. And I had a really, really wonderful time with the kids on both days. And at Williams, I actually read to the entire school after the morning announcements over the loudspeaker. I read one book, and then a group of students took me around. They took me on a tour of Williams. It had been a while since I've been there, but it was good to kind of get refreshed on. Yes, yeah, the ambassadors. That's right. And Williams they've got like the desert lab and the space lab and stuff like just really cool stuff. And then I ended up reading to the class of third graders, or I think it was third graders. Anyway, they were all great. I read a different book to the class than I read to the entire school. So really wonderful, and really do appreciate being asked to do that. It was my pleasure, absolutely. And then there's a couple of performances that also happened over the last week. They were both at Landon Middle School, and I'm really proud because Dr. Schumacher doesn't get to be the only one to talk up his theatrical kids. My daughter Madison was in both of them. On March 3rd, there was a musical that they did called Frankie Builds Androids. It was good. It was so good. And then on the 10th, there was a elementary festival choir, and that was made up of Landon Middle School, students and students from a wide variety of elementary schools. I mean, pretty much every elementary school in the district, it looks like. There's a list on the back of the program here, but they did a fantastic job. It was wonderful. And I really want to give a shout out to Mrs. Sammy Hernandez, who's the music teacher over at Landon. And she really kind of directed and led the kids to do a wonderful job for the musical Frankie Builds Androids, and also was one of the contributors to the elementary festival choir. So again, I'm proud that the kids were just so fantastic in all of those things. Proud of my daughter for contributing to that, and I think it feels like it wasn't very long ago that we had policy council, but that might have been closer to 3 weeks ago. Yeah, wow. Okay. So I guess I haven't really had a recent.
Well, we also had the transition of everybody switching to different committees
Yes,
during
we
that
did.
time.
That's true.
So there's a little bit of flex
So
in there.
policy, I'm sorry, I'm on personnel committee now, and it won't meet until next month. So looking forward to that. And I think that's all I have. I'll pass it to Mr. Munoz.
Let's see, you're right, it has been a while for policy. We're meeting next on March 23rd, I believe. Is that right? March 23rd? Yeah, so that's at 4 p.m. Finance, I rejoined finance after having been off for a number of years. And I think what resonated for me and what I came away with was that we have a team that is always looking at how we're spending dollars and are looking at ways and opportunities to be able to save a dollar here and there. Sometimes it's a substantial amount, sometimes it's a little bit, but I think making sure that we're doing a good job of spending those funds in a way that it communicates that we're respectful of public funds, I think is important. And they've demonstrated during our meeting on a number of different ways. One thing I do want to, that I also wanted to, as far as finance, is that our budget, at the beginning, we approve a budget, and there may be some changes that might require us to sort of update that budget. And so just be aware that that may come forward, and we'll have to go through all the formal processes in order to hold a hearing and be able to sort of make those adjustments. So be aware of that. I think it has to do with, remind me again for there you go, at-risk funding. We were a little bit off in terms of our numbers of how much we thought we would have in terms of at-risk, and now that we're updating that information, it's going to have some implications and ripple effects on our budget. So we need to make sure that we update that, and that there's a formal process for that, as you all know. And yeah, I was at Williams too. I enjoyed reading a book to kids and making sure we're communicating that reading is important and it's fun, and keeping that energy and excitement alive for everybody. And I knew I was missing something. We have so many meetings. I knew I had gone to something somewhere, and Ms. Boley reminded me that it was Jack, and we met an amazing group of kids from Topeka West, Topeka High, and Highland Park were there, but they were there virtually, but we still got to hear from them. So JAG seems to be a great program helping kids who could really use that support. So.
Well, everybody covered committees. I do want to just kind of put a word in. I think we're going to kind of get back to our work sessions. One of the themes we had during our retreat was that we don't have an opportunity to sit and discuss things. And we kind of put the second meeting in each month as a work session to talk about those topics and deep dive and be able to have those conversations in a board setting. And we've kind of drifted away from that. I think we got busy, end of the year, kind of ran out of some items to discuss. So my ask is going to be that you be thinking about what items you would like to discuss at a work session. I'll reach out to you each individually to kind of get those topics so we can put those together and work with Dr. Anderson, Ms. Lister, and school leadership to begin work on those and get those incorporated in again. Other than that, spring break is coming up. So with that, I want to wish the staff, our teachers, our students, their families a restful and joyful spring break. And may the sun be shining, may it be filled with renewal, and May they find some well-deserved relaxation so they can come back with a renewed vigor and energy to, slam down the rest of the school year. I mean, can you believe we're almost done? That seems insane to me. So with that, we will move, we have no need for a second executive session this evening, so we will move to item 24, which is adjournment, and I am looking for a motion.
Madam President, I move the meeting adjourned.
And I am looking for a second. Mr. Munoz, any discussion? You want to talk about it? Nothing? Okay, guess we'll put it to a vote.
Unanimous. Adjourned.